All right, so today we are going to basically build onto our stud wall that we built from yesterday. So today we are going to make this actually a structural framing wall. Okay, so what I mean by that is we're going to put a little bit more strength onto this wall. And as you can see on our one top plate here, okay, so that is basically like an interior wall that you would put into a house. If you had one that had a load-bearing wall that is carrying weight of some sort, whether it be like a staircase, an extra wall up on top of this, you would have to have a double plate. Or if this is around the perimeter of a building, that's called a double top plate. Okay, so that's for a load-bearing wall. Okay, so that's what we're going to do today is make a top plate on here, okay, from our existing wall. We're just going to be basically building onto this frame, okay. So keep in mind, what we need to do is we made our original wall 8 foot, okay. So here's our 8 foot high, okay, that's our height of our wall. So now we have to add another 1.5 inches on top of that, okay. So now we have to take an 1.5 inches off of the total top height of that, okay, because we're going to actually drop this down because we're adding an 1.5 inches on top of it. Because if we add this now, it's going to be 97.5 instead of 96 inches, or 8 feet and 1.5 inches, okay. So how we're going to do that is first we're going to lower this down 1.5 inches, our studs, okay. We are going to go to our cursor here and we're going to click our 3 times here. So we have all of these highlighted here, okay? So next thing that we're going to do is we're going to come to our move feature. Okay, we're going to click this pane right here, and we're going to drop this down, okay? We can take a wild guess on how far we're going to drop it, but all you have to do is drop it and then type in 1.5. That will drop our studs 1.5, okay? All right, so now I want to drop my single top plate back onto my studs. So I come up here, I highlight it. So I highlight this group right here, and I come up to my move feature again, and I want to just drop this down. Okay, as you can see, it drops it down, and I can drop it down 1.5. This should drop it down onto that blue axis. Otherwise, you can move it around too, okay, until it kind of falls on there. This is where it gets kind of tricky to move it. So I like to just kind of drop it down until all these edges meet up, okay? All right, so that's how we lower our studs as a component, every one of them, and drop our group or our top plate back onto our studs. So that is how we do that. All right, so now we lowered our studs and we dropped our top plate, our single top plate, back on our studs. So now we have to add a secondary top plate here for a load-bearing wall. So to do that is we're going to come up here to the move feature. Actually, we're going to come up to the select feature. We have to select this one, which one we want to move. Come up here to the move feature, and we want to move this edge up to this edge. Okay, so we're going to left click the mouse once, and now we have to make a copy, because if we don't, we're going to move just this single one. Okay, so I'm going to put this back here where it belongs. We're going to hit Control M and click it. Actually, click the edge, Control M, and that will make a copy and bring it up. Okay, I can slide this up. You can see my dotted line where it's going. You don't want to be crooked. Okay, so you don't want to be either way. You want to go straight up. I can either drop it where it says on edge in group, or I can go 1.5. Okay, because I started to make that move up. Okay, all right, so that's, oh, I left it here. I didn't finish it here. There we go. All right. So you got to left click again to hold it there. All right. So let's see our measurements here. All right. So our measurement changed. Okay. So now we have 7 feet, 10 inches, 10.5 inches. Okay. Which if you do the math, that's 1.5 inches from 8 feet. Okay. So now I am going to get, I may be able to move this dimension line. Let's try it here. We'll try to see if we can move this line here. Oh, now we got to get to the dimension tool. Well, looks like we can't. Let's see here. Get rid of this. And we're just gonna erase. So if I come up to the erase, I'm gonna get rid of this dimensioning line here. And now I'm gonna make a new dimension line. Okay, so I'm gonna scroll this up a little bit. This is where a nice big computer screen comes in handy. Dimension my line. I want to go from the end point all the way up to the very top, which is 8 feet. Okay, it's amazing how that math all works, huh? Okay, so now I'm going to dimension my length of my wall. I don't think I got it to the edge here. To the end. Sometimes you got to scroll in so you can see it. All right, so we got 8 feet there. All right, so that's dimensioning the wall. You want to make sure that when you add that top plate that you have 8 feet from the bottom, very bottom where it's going to sit on the floor, all the way to the very top plate. Because that's going to be important when we start putting plywood on there, because a sheet of plywood is 4 by 8. Okay, if we put it this way or if we run it vertical, it will be short. Okay, so we want to make sure that that wall is 8 foot. All right, so the last portion here of the activity, we want to make these walls look a little bit, have more detail. Okay, we want to have these have a little bit more detail, not so that it looks so blah and white. So we're going to come up here and we're going to do some painting. Okay, there's two ways we can do it. We can do the eyedropper, but we don't want to do that. We want to do all of the material that we're building here in our print. So we're going to come up here and hit the paint can. On the left-hand side here, we've got, normally when you initially do it, I think will be the colors that you have. These are some blah colors, just plain colors. There's no detail or depth to them. So if you come up here and hit the browse button right next to the home button, it will come up with a lot of different colors and textures. Okay, so we want to select the wood. Okay, select the wood. And this is where kind of use your judgment what flavor wood you want. They've got OSB, they got treated, they got plywood. Looks like they've some hardwood, looks like some teak, looks like flooring. Like I said, I haven't really played along with this, what color they look like, but like I say, use your imagination what type of color you want to put in there. But this is what I'm looking for, just as long as you can get the color feature figured out. Like I say, you can use whatever color you want, whichever one you think looks the best. Actually, that's probably looks like a 2x4 color anyway. So that is the color feature for your project here. Not sure if that changed or not. Yeah, it did. All right, so that's how you give it a little bit more depth by putting some color in there. Okay, so this is what you should have when you're done with it. You should have dimensioning lines. You should have that exactly 8 feet from the very top of that top plate, or the double top plate, to the bottom plate, and 8 feet long. And you should have it 3.5 inches. That should be a given because that's what we're going by dimensioning lines is 3.5 inches right here. So this point to this point is 3.5 inches. All right, so that's what your drawing should look like once you get done with it today.